In this week's episode of Space Dandy, Dandy is pushing up daisies and gets marooned on the purgatory planet of Limbo. But first, check this out. You don't need a fancy suitor to work at a Fortune 500 company to look like the Monopoly guy. You just need a shitty hat and a monocle to make that happen. But if you want to look like a boss, then check out the Executive Razor from Dollar Shave Club. It has 6 high-quality stainless steel blades and a moisturizing strip, and you can check it out at dollarshaveclub.com/SKG. Shave time, shave money, and look like a sexy motherfucker doing it. About 10 minutes into this week's episode, I thought to myself, did somebody just slip LSD into my drink? Because my mind was melting and my eyes were exploding from their sockets from the awesomeness of this week's episode, which, while incredibly confusing, was one of the most gorgeous pieces of anime animation that I have ever seen. Space Dandy is a show for the anime fan. This episode is pure proof of that. But what I think I loved most about this episode is the fact that every single viewer who watches it is going to be able to interpret it in their own special way, especially with the ending this week. And the series Space Dandy is no stranger to suddenly killing off its characters and deciding to do something really crazy with them. Hell, the first episode of the series, all 3 main crew members die in a massive explosion. And in this one right here, Dandy is dead again, and he is sent to this random asteroid planet which is known as Limbo, where all these other weird aliens go, where supposedly they're dead, and they're sort of stuck between life and death, and they sort of have to come to terms with the fact that they are dead. And that seems to be one of the themes this week, because there's a lot of scenes where Dandy is just stuck on this planet, he doesn't know what's going on, and he's just trying to get answers. And they cut to these scenes of these aliens who are just hanging out and discussing their lives and the fact that they want to be able to decide when they die and when they live. And it's really weird and really confusing. And that's the thing. Putting the story into words this week is very difficult. What I will say is the animation was freaking incredible. It was abstract, it was incredibly surreal, and it was just all over the place. The character designs were nuts. And that's saying a lot because Space Dandy sort of prides itself on that, because there's always these crazy aliens all over the place. It's like if you took the cantina scene from Star Wars and multiplied it by like 1,000, and then that thing had a baby and had sex with another one that also had 1,000, and then it created this. This week's episode just, oh my god, you gotta realize too, this is one of the hardest reviews I've ever had to do, because it's so hard to put this one into words, guys. Like, it's a great episode because there's a lot of clues to the fact that Dandy is dead throughout the whole thing, and he's trying to figure that out. And he's joined by his friend who is known as Ferdinand, who is this big gorilla clown alien thing, which almost seems like he's going to be something of a menacing character, but he's actually really nice. And that's the other thing. There's a lot of parts in this episode that almost seem like it's going to be like really dark and disturbing, but for the most part, the entire episode has this like really uneasy calmness about it. Like, there's nothing more you can do. If you're dead, that's it. There's no reason to feel sad, there's no reason to feel happy. And that's another thing that's really important about this episode, is they try to get Dandy to realize that now that he is dead, he can just stay here now and he can be in a constant state of happiness. But I love that Dandy said you can't be happy without there being sadness, and I love how he ran away wanting to go to boobies again and just get out of purgatory. But the other thing about this week's episode is there's this one female character who appears sporadically through the first half of the episode, but she actually isn't even like revealed until the very end, and she's sort of like the living embodiment of the planet itself. There's like these 2 different embodiments of it. There's the logical side and there's the curiosity side. And she also has these like strange omnipotent powers to be able to send Dandy to multiple dimensions, and she gives her short backstory at the very end, where apparently there were people on the planet who lived originally, and then like other planets, they got great technology, they went to war, they destroyed each other, and only their ghosts remained. And that sort of drew in the other ghosts and spirits from all over the galaxy, and that's because she's the only surviving member and she just wanted to be with someone. And Dandy is that very first person to do that, and it's a very bittersweet scene. And this scene is really strange because this is a character that you don't even really know, and they don't introduce her until the very end of the episode, And yet, when she sends Dandy away to this other dimension where apparently, like, before he died, you feel sad. You feel utterly sad for her. And then, the thing that's most incredible about this week's episode is the ending, which I almost don't know how to explain it, because it shows Dandy going back to the ship, except that he's knocked out again. It almost looks like he might even be dead again. And then they cut back to the Limbo planet, and there's Dandy again riding in the trolley that's coming down, and they all recognize him, and everybody just seems happy at the end. Dandy's wearing a suit. It sort of looks like, in a way, that he's, like, accepted death at this point. And I've even heard some people saying that, like, this is a way of explaining how Dandy and his crew, like, die repeatedly, and how they're always being sent back to the various dimensions, because this one girl from the planet Limbo keeps sending him back different times. And I guess that's sort of a way to try and explain it, but I don't like to look at it that way. I still like to see every episode of Space Dandy as completely singular in every possible sense. Otherwise, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Space Dandy? It was just strange. It really does leave me sort of, like, breathless and, like, I don't have anything to say. It's another one of those episodes, again, that I think bears rewatching, if only to try and understand it a little bit more. And I watched the English version first, because I just love the English version, but I really want to watch the Japanese version now, because I want to see what they say. I want to see what the subtitles are saying. I want to see how the stories mesh up, because this is an episode that I truly want to understand. But again, I think it's another one of those episodes that you sort of have to interpret in your own special way. The big thing about this week's episode is the animation. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's really just crazy. It's almost movie-like. Especially, I just love how surreal it is. That's the thing. The episode just opens up on this strange planet. Dandy's just hanging out in the middle of this boat, and then suddenly he's on this weird planet, and he sees all these crazy aliens, and there's a lot of scenes that really stand out, like they meet this one, like, weird alien girl who's playing this guitar, who starts playing this song when they're being chased by all of these other aliens, which are, like, the other living embodiments of the planet. Trying to explain this episode out loud is very strange, and if I were to truly, like, do a real, like, focused review on this, I would need, like, a week to truly, like, analyze this episode. What I will say is, on a first impression, this week's episode was amazing in every possible sense. The animation was gorgeous. The art style was different. It was a very different version of Dandy than we've ever seen. In fact, he's wearing this, like, dark robe throughout the most of the episode. You don't even get to see him with his pompadour until, like, the very end. And he seems very just strange, kind of depressed and confused. This is a very different version of Dandy than we've ever seen before, and that makes sense because he's trying to figure out where the hell he is at. Otherwise, all of the crazy aliens also looked awesome, and that one girl at the very end, just, I wish they would have developed her a little bit more, but, like, I love how they used her in the episode, especially at the end. That combined with the music this week was just, it was a visual showcase. That's really all I can say is watch this episode for the incredibly beautiful animation. It's just 22 solid minutes of gorgeous artwork, if anything. The story itself is completely up for interpretation, and that's why I really want to hear from you guys this week. I want to know what you guys thought about this week's episode of Space Dandy, and it really surprises me because, like I said, this is a show that could have all been about stupid fan service and boobies and all that bullshit, and they pull out another episode like this, and it just makes you think, wow, there is a lot more to Space Dandy than we realize. And it also sort of saddens me that we're getting close to the end of Season 2, which means that'll probably be the end of the series. Although if it is popular, there is a chance we'll get to see more Space Dandy in the future. And after this week's episode, I can say that I want to see more. I want to see more from this team. I want to see more art directors come in and change up the styles, because this is the anime experience of 2014, in my humble opinion. There have been a lot of great shows this year. There have been some great stories being told. There's been some great, animation. But Space Dandy is breaking grounds in so many ways. In storytelling and animation. The fact that it airs on frickin' Toonami a day before it airs in Japan. This is a groundbreaking anime series in every sense, and this episode is just another demonstration of that. So, I'm gonna quit rambling on. I don't even know what to give this week's review, like as a score, so I'm not going to give it a score this week. This is an episode that is completely up to interpretation, and it's just something that anime fans in general need to see. If you have not watched Space Dandy, watch it. Start now, watch from the beginning, and enjoy it. Check it out, guys. Fantastic episode. Thank you guys for watching my review today. Before you leave, make sure to hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. And please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Space Dandy. And make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And make sure to follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. I'll put links for those in the description box below.
Do you like Amazon.com? I know I do. Corey and I now have an Amazon link in our video description box below. And if you go to it and buy anything through Amazon.com, it will support our channel. So bookmark that link, make it happen, and support our channel without having to do a damn thing.
Another great way you guys can help support our channel is by donating directly through our PayPal link in the description box below. We recommend $2 a month, although this is completely optional. But the best way to go about this is by sneaking into your mom's room and taking $2. This way, she won't even notice. And we won't have to shake you up for all of your lunch money. So guys, that concludes this review today. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.